Welcome to the Intercut Podcast, the weekly show going over the TV, movies, and entertainment that people can't cut away from. I am your co-host, Zachary Shevich, and joining me, he gets a high five. It's Arturo Zurita.
Boom, boom, boom. That's actually, if it wasn't for Spider-Man, which I think we have all seen too.
Not me,
The new one?
Yeah, the new one.
No.
I feel like a
You
weirdo.
guys are
Then I
trying
guess
to
I
sing
am
this
the high
online.
five guy then, because nobody else has seen something with me. That is probably the second best after credits scene in a movie this year. Spider-Man beats it out by a little bit, but yeah, that character is hilarious.
Interesting.
It's exciting to be here talking about Toy Story 4, which is going to have spoilers, just so you know.
Yes, we are getting into full spoilers during this Intercut After Credits episode. So if you have not seen Toy Story 4 and you care about spoilers, you might want to check back with us later. But if you just want to hear what we thought about the movie, spoilers and all, stick with us here on this episode. We're also joined by a dinosaur with anxiety. It's Karsten Runquist.
It's on his YouTube page.
Hey, it's good to be here. My my pits are sweaty and I'm ready to get into it.
That's his Twitter bio right there, just living like Rex every day. Dude, it's exciting to have Karsten Runquist here. He made time for us in his busy schedule. He denied Jeff Goldblum a visit while he was at Cannes. They became really good friends. So
We're gonna
he
get
had
coffee.
a little downtime, and you even drink coffee. You would be the person who's like, "Yeah, let's go get coffee." And you hate
I drink
espresso.
Espressos, yeah. I drink espressos. Just like
But yeah, no, it's exciting to have you here because I know you really like Toy Story 4.
I did.
I really
loved
like
it.
Toy Story 4.
Mm-hmm.
But Zach hated Toy Story 4. He doesn't even believe in the concept of kids having toys.
But, lies, first of all.
He hates children.
Slander, secondly. I like Toy Story 4.
Which means you
I
hate it?
did not
Yeah, that
hate
means
Toy
you hate
Story
it.
4. Yeah, I'm
You see how he's trying
you know,
so hard?
we can't have in between opinions, so of course that means I hated it. But that's the movie we're going to talk about here on this episode, the fourth installment of the Pixar Toy Story franchise. Woody, Buzz, and all returning, this time under the care of Bonnie, their new owner, who we got to meet in Toy Story 3. The gang has expanded to include a bunch of Bonnie's toys, but most notably in Toy Story 4, there's the introduction of Forky, a plastic spork with pipe cleaner arms and drawn-on features that Bonnie brings home from kindergarten, and who quickly becomes Woody's responsibility to keep in check and keep him alive and out of the trash. It adds a different dimension to what's always kind of like a interesting collection of child artifacts in these Toy Story movies. Art, let me start with you though. What was your favorite addition to Toy Story 4?
Two things. One was that Forky idea, because I think we all know about the Pixar theory. So that idea that it's like, oh, that's part of the magic right there. That's how they come to life. There's a scene early on in the movie, which I know we're going to talk about how gorgeous it looks, where Woody's in the rain, and you can see the life of Woody's body. I was like, what? Like, Andy goes to look for him, and Woody's just like, and he turns into a toy, and I was like, how can I tell the difference between Toy Woody and the living Woody I know? And it's the weirdest thing. So to see, like, that all it takes to become a toy is for a kid to, like, for you to be created into that purpose, it starts asking you all these Forky existential questions, because he's like, but why? I didn't choose to be this. And it's like, Pixar, what are you going for here?
Like, at what point?
Because he starts calling himself trash. Yeah, like, at what point are... Like, it's talking about predestination, things you need to do, and you're like, okay, am I looking too much into this? And then Woody's storylines, storyline's like, okay, I guess screw my friends. I guess infinity and beyond just meant to here. That's what makes it such a great movie, is how it's expanding its own lore. Because we can relate to it as, like, say, oh, the toys represent kids and, like, going to college and this different stuff. This one, I would say it represents parents. But nonetheless, they still represent what they mean in their world as toys. And with that whole Pixar theory about, like, at what point do cars become life? At what point do all these things happen? This kind of is alluding to the fact that, I mean, these toys literally come to life once a child says you are a toy. So I'm curious.
I mean, I think there's something to be said about the idea of things have some kind of value to life if you put life into them through, caring about them. And that's sort of been the kind of operating theory of these Pixar movies, that anything that we can care about can kind of take on a life of its own. Karsten, I want to ask you, though, what was it about Toy Story 4, just in relation to the other Toy Story movies, that you thought 4 did so well?
So I've never, this might be a hot take, but I've never cared for Woody.
Interesting.
Yo, our relationship went 2019. This is the longest friendship we had.
Like,
this man said what?
Oh my god, he pulled out the.
Bro, I've had this Woody toy since my father
gonna start
left
crying.
Me. This was the last thing he left me. And anytime someone says like I'm not a fan of, I'm just kidding. My father didn't. Can you imagine?
Wow.
I'm like, my father left me this Woody, and he goes, I don't give a crap about Woody.
I don't care about him. No, but
why don't you care about Woody?
He's just never been. It's like it's never felt like they focused on him 100%, and that's why I think this movie was so necessary, because it felt like it was like 90% Woody.
It
like,
is Woody.
Yeah.
You never really knew who he was. Like, Toy Story 1 was just him in relation to Buzz. Toy Story 2, why? And then Toy Story 3 was like Andy. And it's like, I never really got to know Woody. And I feel like this one, I really like, it's kind of like a character study of like where he's at with this. And
it is an interesting point, because he is a character who, much like, the straight man in a sitcom or something, is mainly there to bounce off of the other characters.
Yeah.
Right.
And can keep everybody together. And in Toy Story 4, they do a really interesting thing in making him no longer like the essential leader of the toys.
Right.
Kind of
America.
Taking away his purpose. And when you have a character whose entire purpose is kind of having a purpose,
Yeah.
It gives him this void that Toy Story 4 tried to fill.
Yeah.
I don't know what Carson's talking about, because my boy Woody always had a purpose. And that was Andy
He
in
did.
the toy box. He also, I do agree, like, half of Woody's character is, come on, guys. Woody has high blood pressure. I've always thought that as a toy. This man probably has to take pills for a living, because that's all he has. All he has is anxiety. That's it. But I agree. Toy Story 4 really is his story.
It's also like all the other stories, he's always been it's always been all the toys together, like on the same page.
Yeah.
And this is the first movie where it's like he's the only one that's not like okay with what's going on. Like, that's why I get frustrated when people are like, Toy Story 3 was the end of it. Like, it was fine. That's a whole nother discussion. But like, yeah, it was for Andy and all the other toys, but clearly Woody was not done.
The only other person who I've heard this from, it was Andy's goodbye. It was never the toys' goodbye.
It was never
Andy's goodbye. And everyone keeps saying, "Oh, will the incinerator scene?" I was like, they didn't die in that. Why y'all keep acting? We all have near-death experiences. That doesn't mean like, well, glad I didn't die there. My story should no longer be told. It's like, no, they still lived.
Yeah, I feel like Zach disagrees here.
What do you?
I mean, I disagree with 3 not being a conclusive ending of sorts, but that doesn't mean that I disagree entirely with the idea, and like I definitely agree with your whole Woody as the central focus of Toy Story 4 conceit. I mean, I really love 3. 3 is my favorite of all the Toy Story movies, and I think a lot of that is the way that they sort of come to acceptance through 3. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about Toy Story 4. And for me, I think that there was a lot of fun elements, but I don't necessarily feel like there was as much innovation in 4, at least through the storytelling. I think we've kind of had the toy get separated and it has to battle its way back through Toy Story 4. The like Woody in isolation thing and having to find new connections was also a big Toy Story 2 thing. There are elements that I liked, but I felt ultimately there wasn't as satisfying of an arc for me. And I think we can get into spoilers a little bit if you guys are ready.
Fully.
In that I was not nearly as satisfied by the ending as I think either of you were.
I will say, I did not cry in the ending. I was I don't get.
So Karsten agrees with me. This has been a great show.
I can't get behind that, where everybody's like, it was all good, and then those last 20 minutes, I was bawling, and I was so expecting to do that. And maybe it's just because I had a noisy theater, and I was getting pissed off, but, like, I felt nothing. That's a lie. I didn't feel nothing, but, like, the closest I came to crying was the title sequence. And I was like, oh, it's Toy Story. But then the ending happened, and I was like, yeah, it feels right. I wasn't crying, though.
Yeah, it felt just like, oh, that's a decision you can make.
Right.
To me, at least. Art, why did it feel like more than that to you?
Well, having bought the movies all over again because they were released in 4K, so they had all this. I've been saying this. They have all these special features. Like seeing the entire Pixar cast, like this was their first movie. I almost see Toy Story as not being a franchise, but being indicative of like what Pixar is. As long as Pixar is alive, they will be making new Toy Story movies. We said Toy Story 3 was the finale. They never hit us with the Fast and Furious. All roads lead to this. They never said it was the last one. They just said it was 3, and we were so used to trilogies. They're like, okay, but we never said it was a trilogy. And we also won't be making another movie unless we feel like it. So we've always talked about this. Toy Story pretty much is like, oh, it's siblings. That's why I was always Woody. My brother was always Buzz. And just like Woody threw Buzz out a window, I once threw my brother off of a patio. Ran inside. I said, yo, he slipped. I don't know what happened. I thought he was lost. Turns out he wasn't. Toy Story 2, I see it as you're teenagers now. This is when the toys still kind of represent the kids. It's a Rorschach effect. In Toy Story 2, you're like the kid who feels like you're the teenager and you're so special. You know everything. Screw Andy. I'm going to go be my own self. It's like, nah, you got to return to Andy, boy. Come on. Your siblings got to, your family's got to whoop you into shape. Toy Story 3 is you leaving to college and you realizing you're saying goodbye. Right? That doesn't mean that person's memory goes away, but you're saying goodbye. And at that point, it was genius because 1995, 2010, 11, when that movie came out, they timed it perfectly, just like they did for Monsters, Inc. and University, for it to be that the main generation was going to college at that point. They were around that age, which is insane to me.
They aged Andy with the
exactly.
Of the movies.
So people see that, and then I don't think anyone disagrees. It's like, oh yeah, this is you as young with your siblings, you as a teenager, and then you go into college. They timed it perfectly. Well, then what did they time for? This time the toys aren't kids. This time the toys are parents, and these are the parents who realize. I mean, dude, what's in the trailer so many times? What's let's swap toy for parent without a kid? I'm a parent who can't have a kid. I've always wanted a kid. Well, I'm over here and I'm the single person who realizes, Bo Beep, I don't need a kid. You can be your own self and we can be single.
And then to extend that to the ending, she'll be fine, your kid will be fine without you.
That's just how I see it. These are the animators who are... I swear, Carson, if you start crying in this one when you do, that's what I want to do. I want to make sure I get to him so when he goes and he watches it again.
Cry
I just see
mid-podcast.
it kind of like can you imagine? We'll put you to tears. Intercut number 59.
Guys, I'm gonna need a minute.
No, like that's to me. That's what got to me is where I was like, okay, they planned all of these to be in the 90s. The Pixar people, they had kids and they saw the siblings fighting and they put that in the movie. Then I'm sure they turned into teenagers and they put that in the movie. And then they had to say goodbye to their kids and they made a movie about that. And now these are all these guys who are retiring also from Pixar, dude. If they're not dead or harassment, they're retiring from Pixar. And now you're getting to that point where it's like they've almost fulfilled their purpose there, but it's also their kids have left the coop and it's like, what do you do now? And that to me was like crazy, especially seeing it with my mom. Who's like looking at me.
I saw it with my mom too.
Right?
It's the best way to see it.
It's the only way to see it, really, if you can. And I find that beautiful. And I also find the technological side of it, where it's like Toy Story 1 was an innovation, and it inspired so many people. Even Miyazaki looks up to it. That's why they gave him a shout-out with Totoro in 3. He's like in the movie. Yeah. That's crazy. What J. Cole say? Who said two legends cannot coexist? And now with 4, it's like the rain scene at the beginning. It's like, oh, okay, now I get why you guys did Good Dinosaur. That was just testing how to play with water for this. Yeah. It's like, I
mean, that is something that I think you can't argue with, is that Pixar has
it's their
continually
checkpoints.
Update their visual game.
And
it's there are some moments in this movie that are just some of the more beautifully constructed sequences that they've put together. This is something that we mentioned on our last Intercut episode, but there's a moment where Woody and Bo see each other after years apart, and because of the mechanics of the world, they have their blank doll expressions,
but
the emotions they're going through.
This was Tom Hanks' best performance of all time, not doing anything, just being in the booth going. Can we argue that too?
What?
Name me a better performance Tom Hanks has done other than Woody. Forrest? Get out of here.
Philadelphia.
Please. Castaway?
Captain Phillips?
Ugh.
Captain Phillips.
He's the captain. How does it feel for, like, Tom Hanks to realize that his greatest performance is a toy?
I mean, it is interesting that there's probably a whole generation of people that basically only think of Tom Hanks as Woody.
I do.
Yeah.
If you're born after...
If Tom Hanks yells in a row, including Captain Phillips, I just see Woody doing this. That's what I see. I'm being serious, though. If you see the behind the scenes, I don't know if you've heard what he has to do for the voice acting. Like, not only is he energetic, but because Woody has so many scoffs, they literally tell him, I'm sure you've seen the scene where they tell him, do the nose thing again. He's like, what's the nose thing? It's like, we're in the third movie. You know what your nose thing is. He's like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm sure we all do things that people have called out on our podcast.
Yeah.
Say something, you know? Well, supposedly Tom Hanks is with his nose. So they had him going, okay, now just with the left, now just with the right, and I kid you not, they direct him, now make it wetter. Bro, if this is not his best performance, I couldn't even do one sniff right now without
Give him
going,
the Oscar.
You did that. I mean, you know, it's his best performance. That's all I can say.
It's amazing.
And I'm glad that he now had his own story. His own version of character development. And I truly see the ending of this as him kind of being like, years later, Buzz goes, so how was it? And it's just Woody as Captain America. I don't think I'm going to tell you.
Karsten, why did you feel like this was a more appropriate ending for the 4 movies? For the franchise, rather.
Than the third?
Toy Story 3 was.
You know, I would have been... This is why I would have been happy with 3. You know, but because I did cry at 3, which is why I'm conflicted about this. Like, yes, 3 was a good ending, but 4 needed to happen. Like I didn't realize it needed to happen.
We don't have to dismiss 3 as a movie while praising 4.
Oh,
like,
yeah. Some people have been weird about that. It's like all of a sudden 3's trash. It's like
no, 3's great. 3's better than. Never mind. Like it's better than 2. But yeah, is that a hot take? Is that really a hot take?
No.
Okay.
I don't know.
3 is my favorite. So
3's
maybe that's
great.
The hot
take. No, yeah, I think I like the ending of 3 more than the ending of 4, but I'm glad 4 exists. Is what I'll say.
So why? What was it about 4? Whether it's the plot or just getting an extra bit of time with these characters and seeing them adjusted to their new situation that made 4 feel like an appropriate end for this saga.
Like I said, I feel like Woody's never been satisfied or happy.
Yeah.
And you know, you could tell he was like he has such a strong attachment to Andy. It's like to expect him to just be okay after 3, like come on. There's a whole grieving process here. Like and one could argue there's a whole grieving process now without the toys, but you know that they're then.
Yeah, but he's also off on a new adventure.
Yeah, he's got his. No, yeah, I think it's a good. I don't know. I'm glad 4 ended like this. It could have been a bit more climactic. I feel like it was.
What would you have done?
That's the thing. I don't know. You
don't really have something, but you felt like it was going to be something that would have pushed you to tears like 3 did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just like a better. I think what I would have done was like I like the ending. It would just be adjusting the rest of the film. It felt like a weirdly paced film, and that's like one of my biggest problems with it. Because then the ending kind of sneaks up on you, and you're like, I feel like I should feel something, but
bro, have you seen it again?
No, I should probably see it again.
Hey, watch it again. The beginning hits differently because the beginning, do you remember it's in the rain? And when I first saw it, I literally just went, oh, so this is when Bo goes missing because we're going to see her again later.
Yeah.
No, do you know what that scene is? It isn't just Bo going missing. It's when she tells, toys can get lost. Bruh, when I was watching the second time, I didn't even pay attention to the fact that she asked him to go with, because I'm an idiot, and I didn't even realize that that's what she was saying, and he's gripping the thing. Oblivious to this the first time around, and he lets go, and Bo goes, so you're choosing him over me, and I was like, what are we doing here? These are toys. I was like, go with her. And I was like, wait, no, you can't. You got to do 3.
He's got to do 3, yeah.
Bro, they zoomed in on his little fingers. Letting go. I was like, what?
Yep.
That was him. What they're showing you once you see it a second time is, oh, this isn't Bo missing. This is when he missed his chance. And that's what he makes up for it later. I was like, what the heck?
Right.
Like, what?
Yeah.
What are you about to have a mortgage? Like, what's going on? Like, this is weird.
Toy Story 4 also... Oh, sorry, Carson, do you have something?
No, I had nothing to say. I was...
Okay, no Toy Story 4 also has the villain of Gabby Gabby. I think in the familiar conceit of Toy Story villains, in which she first appears a bit friendly and then you learn about some more nefarious intentions that she has, but they kind of bring her back around by the end of the film. How did you guys feel about Gabby Gabby as a character, as a nemesis, the way that they completed her arc?
Never liked her. Not even.
No?
I felt nothing.
Oh, like I hated her at the beginning. There was a point where I was like, I can't wait for them to release her toy, so I can destroy it in a fire like Sid. But you didn't even like the ending when she gets denied?
No, I mean, I just didn't feel anything towards her. I'm like, I felt bad, obviously, but I'm like, I'm too emotionally attached to
the other
Woody.
ones to be like, I'm not for you.
Like, I'm not. I've just met you. Why am I?
I just
why do I
met
care?
you. Like,
I care more about
like
Ducky and Bunny than her.
They were good.
Which, by the way,
Which
great. I was expecting to hate them from the teaser. I was like, they're not funny. And then the movie happened. I was like, all right, they're amazing.
Yeah. What were your favorite?
They're amazing. They feel a little bit like they're coming from a different movie, but they're amazing.
Oh yeah, I would not be surprised if they were like, no more Toy Stories, but we have like 3 Ducky and Bunny spin-offs
coming to Disney Plus.
Literally,
probably, yeah.
Literally gonna happen.
Speaking of with them, yeah, that was the funniest thing. I'm watching a video and they're bringing up the Shining references and they bring up Ducky and them, and I was like,
really?
That sound familiar. And they're like talking about, he's like, this is like Insider.com. And they're like, because Insider.com now explains and Easter egg videos.
Oh, yeah.
And they were like, in the first movie, there was the carpet to The Shining, and in 3, the song Andolon, whatever the hell the song name is the exact same song that plays at the ending of The Shining. And I was like, where did I hear this? I swear
that sounds familiar,
I heard somebody
like
make a theory. Have you heard this video?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Like the other, I was like, I think.
Like, don't get me wrong, it is the dumbest video I've ever seen in my life. But like, I found it. Karsten had made a connection, which has been there for the longest time, and it really is there as references.
Well, yeah.
The Shining. Well, you explain it more since you made the video.
Well, there's been like fun little like Easter eggs, and then like Toy Story 4 happened, and the song from the Shining Ballroom played.
Not an accident.
And I was like, I literally like lost my mind. I was like, holy shit. I mean,
now I don't know the song by ear like that. But
that's the thing. I don't know how I knew, but I was like, that's the Shining song. And I leaned over to my mom. I'm like, that's the Shining song. And she's like, shut the fuck up. And I was like, but
I don't care, Karsten. You're doing that thing again? Save that for your channel, honey. That's not for me.
She's like, really? Come on.
You're good.
But yeah, it was. I don't know where I was, but yeah.
Well, you were comparing the two. I know your theory was, I think you said it was a prequel. You connected the two.
The thing is, it was a joke theory, but there is like because I've done these joke theories before where it's just absurd, like Remy's an Avenger. But this one, there's enough evidence to where there definitely is a connection to be made.
Yeah.
My biggest thing was that like Toy Story takes place in like the 90s and current day, and The Shining takes place in the 80s, which messed up the whole thing. But still fun.
He's still
Maybe we'll see them in Doctor Sleep. I don't know.
Right.
I do like the idea of Gabby. I think the best parts about the Toy Story villains, which I think in Toy Story 1 would have been Sid, Toy Story 2 it would have been the
bear. No,
Prospector dude.
Yeah.
The Prospector.
3 was the bear.
The third is the bear. It's Lotso, and then here it's Gabby Gabby. But in reality, they're just obstacles. If I may, if you can play the lo-fi hip hop behind me, they're just obstacles in this. Really, the biggest enemy has always been Woody himself, learning to know each other. In the first one, Sid was just an obstacle to allow Buzz to know he was a toy. In 2, the Prospector was just so Woody can understand that he wasn't a collector's item, but he was Andy's toy. That was his purpose. In 3, it was for all the toys to realize that they needed to be together, which I agree with Zach here, to come to that conclusion at the end of 3, that it didn't matter that Woody can be his own, and then this, I get that. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, literally Toy Story 3 is saying, Woody, You're about to be by yourself, and you're going to be over here. And Toy Story 3 tells you, no, that's not okay. They should all be together.
All be together.
Yes, I am fully aware of that. And then Toy Story 4 goes, we're just going to pretend we didn't say that.
Yeah.
Because enough time has passed.
And let Woody live his life.
Exactly. And then we realize that it's not necessarily... A lot of people think Bonnie's the villain. That's my favorite theory. Because everyone keeps going, and here's Woody at the end of 3. Take good care of him. Tosses him. Puts him into the closet. Just never plays with him again. And people are so... I'm sorry, Woody. People are
never
so
liked
angry.
Bonnie. No.
About Bonnie, and they're like, she's a hoe. I'm like, she's 5. All right? Like, she didn't know any better. But I agree. I don't know why she did my boy Woody dirty like that. And I think the same thing when it comes to Gabby. If I'm looking at it from my lo-fi theory perspective, that's like a mom who can't have kids because her voice box doesn't work. And she just wishes she can get another voice box, only for when the time to come she doesn't get it. She doesn't get the kid she wanted. She ends up getting another kid. So it's like she adopted. So there's a beautiful metaphor there if you want to look at it that way.
Yeah. We've alluded to it, I think, in different parts of this podcast so far, but should we just list our rankings for the different Toy Story movies?
Sure.
I mean, I can go first.
Yeah.
I've been saying it, but 3 is my favorite. Toy Story 1, or the original, is my second. Then probably Toy Story 2 I put above this one, Toy Story 4. Art? Karsten?
This is where friendships end, right here. I'm gonna say 1, and then
Good.
3, 4, 2.
You really hate 2 like that, huh?
Except, I don't hate 2. I just think it's more pointless than 4.
Interesting.
And
I can kind of agree with you. I've never been the big fan of 2.
No, well, it's like it came out so short after 1, and it's like they didn't predict it would turn into what it's turned into, maybe.
Yeah,
but
it was supposed to be a DVD release.
Yeah, but like, it's like it just felt like it was doing the least out of all 4 movies.
I feel like it's the most tangential to like the overall.
Yeah,
if you want to look at it like
it
that.
definitely like adds something to the universe of this thing, but it doesn't do much for the. I mean, it does, but I don't know.
It does. I think just when it came out for me, 95 hit me more, and that sibling story, like I said, related to me more than the I'm a teenager who's gonna talk back that came out in 99.
Yeah,
I think people grew up with that one, and that's why they watch it so much more. Like my girlfriend watched that one way more, and I was like, yeah, it's because you were a bratty teenager. I was a good boy. Like I took care of him. I was a mama's boy. I took care of him like that. But Toy Story 2, surprisingly though, is the highest rated. Toy Story 2 is the one people love the most. It's crazy. Like people adore this movie. And it's okay for
Although
people to be
3 is
wrong.
the one that got the Best Picture nomination.
Yeah.
Well, that's just on the Oscars, man. I don't know what to tell you. You know, they're doing female and male directors now. I don't know what's going on. I've heard. But for me, it's always gone 1, 2, 3, 4. I keep it simple.
4's still your least favorite?
Well, that's because I also see the whole thing as one movie. Like I see the whole thing as one journey. Like
Understood.
each one. Like I don't know how I can put 3 over 2, considering that 3 can't happen unless you get the characters from 2, and 4 can't happen, and they can't say infinity and beyond unless you remember how they used to hate each other, dude. And now they're like, well, never gonna. It's like what? Like yes, that's why I see like the whole thing. It's kind of like when people try to divide the Lord of the Rings movies, or when people try to divide Before Sunset, where we were just having a conversation of that. It's like the whole thing is a unifying experience. But if I had to rate them, I'm 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that we've all got different ratings, although I think there's some similarities in that we all have 1 pretty high and 4 closer to the bottom. But none of us dislikes 4, even, no matter what Art says about me.
I mean, you saying it yourself. I don't
do you have any final thoughts on Toy Story 4?
Me?
Yeah. Go
Either of you.
My theory is that Toy Story 4 is saying we, as a society, are toys to the mouse, Mickey Mouse.
the system.
And they're just playing with us at this point.
Interesting.
Preach it. I think he's right. Hey, what'd I tell you? They were selling forkies at the Disney store.
Yeah.
$40. It's just a fork.
More expensive than the Buzz or Woody dolls.
That's more expensive. Yeah, I had to take a ticket. They were sold out. I had to pre-order mine. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not order a $40. Yeah, my final thing would be I am okay with more Toy Story 4 or more the Toy Story forever, more Toy Story installments. I'm interested to see what they do for Disney Plus because I feel like kind of like their Tower of Terror, their shorts, they're going to continue making more of those at least, video games and stuff. Cool. But I'm okay. I feel like Toy Story 5 will come with two things. The next achievement in Pixar. Like, I don't think they're making a new movie unless they've achieved new things in, technology. And I think that's going to be, like, their checkpoint. Like, forget all our other Pixar stuff. Yeah, y'all like Up, WALL-E, but, like, this is everything we did in those movies combined into one. And then the second is going to be, I think it's going to have to do with grandkids. If I'm following the little thing line,
I predict,
it's gonna be with grandkids. It's gonna be with grandkids. Just you wait.
They're gonna incorporate like phones and how like apps are now
technology
kids' toys.
And apps.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. That's exactly what it's gonna be.
Do we think a Toy Story 5 is kind of inevitable, and do we think that we're gonna get Buzz and Woody in it?
I don't think this universe is done yet. Like I said, there'll be like a spin-off with these new, like Duke Kaboom, maybe.
Right.
Like all these new characters.
Ducky and Bunny, as you mentioned.
Right.
I think even some of Bonnie's toys could get their own spin-off.
I like what he said about the Bunny and
Ducky.
Bunny and Ducky, because when Toy Story 2 came out, again, I didn't care for it at the time. But I was still binge watching something else. It was the Buzz Lightyear Adventures. Like, that was its own series. I was like, yo, I really like that. I was watching the special features. So, what if they do something like that now that we have Disney Plus? We may not get a 5 for a while, but I think we're still going to get content on Disney Plus now that they have that avenue.
Yeah, I would also.
But do you think? Yeah. Do either of you think Buzz or Woody will be back? Because it definitely felt like they're giving at least one of them an easy out.
Well, was Iron Man present in Far From Home? I think these two are going to be in it as well. It's very difficult to distance yourself from the two main characters. You know what I mean?
Right.
So they have to be in some sense.
I was surprised that the movie ended with them in separate places, but we'll see.
I think it's going to be before sunset. It's going to be them meeting up with their children.
Maybe.
How have you been? Pretty good.
Karsten, I think I interrupted you a moment ago.
Oh, I was just saying I would not be opposed to Buzz coming back because they left him on a dumb note. Like I've talked about this on my podcast. I know everyone's talked about it, but they made this man Patrick Star of Toy Story, and I'm like, this is absurd.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm frustrated when a franchise changes core characteristics, and he definitely seemed like a few IQ points lower than Toy Story 4.
Yeah, and
as funny as many of those moments were.
Like he doesn't
do that for Woody. Like you didn't have to sacrifice Buzz for Woody.
No, exactly. Yeah. Buzz has never been dumb.
Tim
Allen, arguable, but
Home Improvement grunt.
I think that's a good note for us to wrap up on. You can catch more of the Intercut podcast on iTunes, on SoundCloud, on your favorite podcatcher. Mine is Overcast, and make sure you subscribe not just to the audio podcast, but to the video feed on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/intercutpod. Karsten, where can people find more from you?
You can check me out on my self-titled YouTube channel, or check out my podcast called The Karstcast on, I believe, all podcast platforms. I think. That's about it.
You just sent me the MP3, so I just have it on my phone.
You can just distribute it, yeah. That's about it, yeah.
Dope.
Art?
A to Z Show, Let Me Explain, got both Twitters for those, and you guys know the channels.
Yeah.
Just check it out there. Or you can always follow us here as we have new guests on the Intercut podcast.
Yes. I'm at Zshevich on Twitter, at Zshevich on Instagram, and also Zshevich on Letterboxd, youtube.com/multiplex show, where I post once a year. And here, Intercut. So make sure you're subscribed to the Intercut. We'll be back with more episodes, so stay tuned to the feed. And until next time, this is for you, Regent.
I like it.
Great ending. Great ending.
Karsten, do you have a specific character?
Who's your favorite character?
From Toy Story.
Preferably a minor one.
No, of all time.
I'll have to go with Rex, which it might be a hot take because I know a lot of people hate Rex, but yeah, I like.
So I'm going to introduce you as a dinosaur with anxiety.
That's exactly what I am.